Ahead on the latest edition of the Tiger Football Report, we will figure out what went wrong this past Saturday when Towson took on the Dukes of James Madison in Harrisonburg. Later in the show, we'll see how the Tigers can try to turn things around as they get ready to hit the road to battle the Blue Hens of Delaware. Sit back and enjoy as the Tiger Football Report starts right now. Hello, Tiger fans, and welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm the voice of the Tigers, Spiro Marikas. I know a lot of fans want to try to forget about what happened last week in Harrisonburg when the Tigers were handed a crushing loss at the hands of James Madison, 62-7. The Tigers didn't help themselves out by committing back-to-back turnovers that resulted in touchdowns before the half. That sent Towson into the locker room at halftime down 27-0. The second half didn't get much better, but the Tigers put together a scoring drive to avoid the shutout. Coach Rob Ambrose joins us once again, and Coach, going into this game against the Dukes of James Madison, you had to know that this was a team that was on the rise in the Dukes. New coaching staff, they were just getting acclimated to a new offense and new defense, but I don't think you expected what happened on Saturday.
I don't think anybody expects anything like that. Defensively, from their perspective, they really started to settle into their scheme. This has been building. They've been getting a little bit better week after week after week, and doing it at home in front of a big crowd like that, strong student section. It was obvious from the very beginning that they were going to be better that day than they had been on film defensively. And offensively, they've been playing well all year. They got a talented quarterback, a 1A transfer. They took a couple 1A transfers on offense, and they've been putting up decent numbers against everybody. They just haven't been doing well defensively. So, from our perspective, basically holding them to 14 points in the first half defensively, getting them to turn the ball over, getting him sacked, getting him to fumble, getting him to pick. We felt like we were doing really well defensively against a pretty crazy, wild, open, fast-paced offense. But the ineptitude of our offense and turning the ball over, and not just turning the ball over, but giving them points while we did it, that's a morale killer.
There are bad turnovers. There really aren't any good turnovers except maybe at the end of the half when you're trying to Hail Mary and a ball gets picked off at the 2-yard line or something. But there are really bad turnovers, and unfortunately, 2 of yours were really bad because when they result in an instant pick six or a fumble recovery for 6 points, it doesn't get worse than that from the turnover category.
No, it doesn't. Thank you. We put Joe in there and to do some things that Connor hasn't been able to do, and he did that. I think Joe went 6 of 8, and, pushed the ball down the field a little bit, got the ball out a little bit quicker on some stuff, and was very accurate. You walk in the game and go 6 for 8, that's pretty good. But his pocket presence and awareness, we've seen this before, and turning the ball over in the fumble, to him, that hurt. Connor's it's a combination. It's a half of a misread of coverage and a young wideout that didn't step back to the ball and who learned incredible, valuable lessons. So it hurt. It did. It hurt everybody. It hurt offensively. It kind of took any win we had in our sails, but it kind of hurt the morale of the defense. And we put them back out there right away again. And it's bad enough when they're trying to run fast-paced, super fast offense. It doesn't help when your offense is 1 and out, or 2 and out, or 3 and out, and we just can't do that.
All right, the game's over. You have the long bus ride back to Towson in Baltimore from Harrisonburg. What do you do with the team, and do you go over this tape? Do you just say, let's move on? What do you do?
Well, not on the bus.
Not on the bus, when you get back.
Okay. Of course, no. There are times, there have been games since I've been back that were bad losses. When we were beat up and injured or just bad losses, where I said, no, we're not watching the tape, we're moving on. But we needed to watch the tape. We needed to learn this. As young as we are, we need to not hide from it. We need to see it, need to get smacked in the face with it so we can learn from it. He said that, I think it might have been John Wooden that said, no loss is a bad loss unless you didn't learn from it. And it's a great statement from a guy who's won more championships in one sport than anybody ever has. So no, we went over it with a fine-tooth comb and talked about the difference between losing and being a loser. And there is a difference. Now, losing is something that happens, and sometimes it's because of what you did personally or just because you're part of something. But being a loser is not about not being invested. It means you lose and it doesn't hurt. And if you ever lose at something and it doesn't hurt, you need to not be doing it. And that was a good learning experience for them in many ways. And this will be a red-letter game for quite some time to come.
The offense, as you mentioned, was unable to put. They put 7 points on the board. We'll talk about your two-headed quarterback in a later segment. But the running game seems to have bogged down a little bit. You've had some injuries on the offensive line. How much of an effect has that had? Because let's face it, going into the season, it was a young offensive line with not a lot of experience. Now, even less experience.
It's a direct correlation, to answer your question. That the offensive line up until that game that had played together were the same 5 guys for a good month plus in a row. So you could see the cohesion outside of the Stony Brook game where we just got manhandled up front, bigger guys. But you saw those games where we were building and running the ball well against multiple teams because those 5 guys were working well together. But with Jake Schunke going out and not coming back, we had to juggle the offensive line with different pieces parts. And you could see them doing their job and attempting to work the scheme, but they weren't doing it to the efficiency that they had been doing it as a group because it's different guys in different spots. And injury does that. And it's the true key, the hardest thing to do is try to find things that those 5 can do together and do well to be able to have success as an offense, because without them we go nowhere.
The saying that's become popular in the last decade is next man up, and most teams use that. But let's face it, guys weren't starting because there were people ahead of them that were better than them. Mm-hmm. So even though, yes, next man up and you've got to do your job, there's going to be a drop-off in talent, and you guys have, and I know you hate to use this as an excuse, but I'll bring it up. You guys have had a hell of a lot of injuries this year.
I haven't seen this many injuries, especially at specific positions, since probably 2010. And the next man up mentality is always going to be there. That's always going to be the accepted expectation. But when we get into this further in the future, but yeah, when you have a 2 deep worth of offensive line that cannot play in a football game, this is 1AA football where you only have 63 scholarships. It's not like you take 20 offensive linemen. There's only 10 that can't play at all, and you're on your 6th or 7th fullback by now. It's a difficult road to hoe, but that's okay. So you learn from it. You learn from everything.
Coaches just have to coach more. Still to come on the Tiger Football Report, we will discuss some of the Tigers' individual performers from the game against Madison, and later we will preview the Tigers' Week 8 matchup with the Blue Hens of Delaware. The Tiger Football Report returns after this break.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
We got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Red, sign that.
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it. Woo!
Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
White Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikis, joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, this past week, you tried something that you haven't done in quite a while, since 2010, as a matter of fact, and that was a two-headed quarterback. Connor Frazier, Joe Brennan, or can we just call him Joe Frazier?
I wish.
As you mentioned, Joe Brennan fumbled. Connor Frazier threw an interception. Both led to touchdowns. Is this an experiment that was just for the Madison game, or is it something that you'll use down the road? Or am I asking a question that I really shouldn't be asking you because somebody may be watching?
It's okay. It's a combination of multiple factors. Connor, I'd said something in the week before the JMU game, and I said if Connor's going to turn the ball over in the red zone consistently, we're going to have to really think about what we're doing moving forward. And we talked about putting Joe in, and we talked about making Joe the starter when Connor had done that, and weren't really ready to pull the trigger completely, but figured that we could put him in the ball game. And to be honest, Connor played multiple positions a year ago and is a great football player. So having them both on the field is not necessarily a bad thing. And you could see some of the benefit in some of the plays that we ran. But as we move forward, it's still a conversation. I'm not going to answer it completely, just in case anybody's watching. But it was an attempt to give us a spark, a little bit of something, and it was there. It happened. We did make some hay with that, but we also made some mistakes that were critical. And I probably said there's more turnovers at the quarterback position this year than in the last 2 years, 3 years combined, and that's just extremely frustrating.
Joe Brennan, obviously coming out of high school, was very highly recruited, went to Wisconsin, ended up coming to Towson. But you can tell he's not a mobile type of a quarterback. If he had been playing with last year's offensive line, how much of a difference would that make to him as opposed to playing with this young, inexperienced line that you have now?
I think you could say that for anybody who's ever if you took snaps at quarterback this year versus last year, it would make a huge difference.
No.
When you play behind an all-senior offensive line, and then you play behind at oldest a sophomore offensive line, yeah, that's a big difference in strength and experience and savvy and confidence. So it's huge. But when you're a quarterback, just like when you're a head coach, there are no excuses. What is it? Quarterbacks and head coaches get too much credit, too much criticism, and that's just part of the jobs. Don't complain about it. Just get it done.
The defense, as you mentioned, in the first half only gave up 14 points to Madison, which is very respectable. They were one of the top offenses in the conference. The second half, things start getting away. You mentioned in the prior segment, that maybe the defense got down a little bit. What do you do to keep their spirits up moving on? Because you still got 5 games left this year.
Well, you focus on the next play. And I said you model resilience and you teach resilience, and that you mentor these guys, and not just for the game, but for life. As you ask my 11-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter, I go, hey, fall down 7, and they'll both get up 8. And that's now. I've said that to our players, and it's sad that none of them, and not none of them, but a large portion of them had never even heard that said before. But that's a model for life. So focus on the smaller details, and the big details will take care of themselves. Keep moving forward no matter what.
As a coaching staff, how different is it for you guys with a 2-5 record as opposed to last year where you were rolling along and ranked in the top 10? How much more coaching do you have to do this year? And how different are your practices because you are young?
The practices are pretty much the same, and the coaching's pretty much the same. Although the difference is when you're coaching a more veteran team, as I say my sentence about what we need to get done, I usually don't ever get to the punctuation point because they've finished the sentence before me. They've already heard it so many times they know what to say or they know what's coming. But as far as how we do what we do, no, just keep on coaching, keep on teaching. You're always teaching. If you're always learning, then you're always teaching. And the minute you stop learning, somebody's probably digging a hole for you.
You like to quote Earl Weaver, the name of his book. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
Well, I'm a long way from ever knowing it all.
Right, well, you never are. No one is. The Blue Hens coming up this week and then a bye week. I know in the past you've had bye weeks in the second or third week of the season. This week it's a little past midway. Is this a team that you wish you would have had the bye earlier in the year?
Oh, goodness. I would say we could have probably used this bye maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it is what it is, and you take it as it comes. I know that our kids, it's Delaware, and you can usually throw all the records away for them and for us. It doesn't really matter. It's just a game that we need to win, a play we need to win. But I can tell you by the time we get through this one, I'm going to have a football team that's pretty ready for a bye.
The Tigers will have that bye coming up after this game on Saturday against the Blue Hens. Defensively, again, we go back to the defense against James Madison. Did you guys see anything that you weren't expecting, or did they do everything you expected them to do?
They did everything we expected them to do. The pace was exactly what we planned for, and you could see that our guys were well prepared for it. We expected Vad to run around a little bit, and he did, but the runs that he had, we kept him, from breaking the monster runs. We expected to hold him in the pocket and get him to turn the ball over, and we did that. We got him to throw the ball into coverage. We just didn't help him out with the other 2 aspects of the game.
You sacked him 4 times, which nobody else had done this year, and Ryan Dallaire continues to be among the top 10 in the nation in sacks per game. Coming up on the other side of this break, we will break down the Tigers' matchup with Delaware. But before we go, let's take a look at this week's Tiger Tidbit presented by Under Armour. Did you know the last time the Tigers played in Newark during the month of October was in 2006, and a Tiger quarterback named Sean Schaefer outdueled a guy named Joe Flacco in a 49-35 Tiger victory.
You know how fast you were going?
Yeah, about 55.
Where are you headed at such an appropriate speed?
Across the country to enhance the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network. How's it working for you?
Better than ever. How'd you do it?
Added cell sites, increased capacity.
And your point is?
So you can download music, games, and directions for the road when you need them.
Who's this guy?
Oh, that's Charlie.
You ever put pepper spray on your burrito? I like it spicy, but not like, oh, spicy.
You always like this?
You have no idea.
AT&T, the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network.
Mariner Finance is a consumer finance company, so we offer personal loans.
Mariner Finance is a great place to work. It's a great thing for anyone with the entrepreneurial spirit.
Everybody in every office has an opportunity to achieve and grow.
Be your own leader. Be a leader amongst the fellow coworkers in your office.
The training and development that we do at Mariner Finance is one-on-one. Someone who has been there, done it, experienced it.
There is no better feeling.
Learn with us.
Grow with us.
Run with us.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
We got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Right, sign that.
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it.
Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm Spiro Maricas alongside the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose, as the Tigers get ready to make the short trip up to Newark, Delaware to take on the Blue Hens on Saturday. After getting blown out by Pitt in Week 1, the Blue Hens have been on a bit of a roll, winning 4 of their last 5 games. The competition hasn't been spectacular, but they did beat JMU and Harrisonburg a few weeks back. This is a team that beat Elon last week. 2 weeks prior to that, had lost to Sacred Heart at home, which shocked many of the Blue Hen faithful. But Dave Brock's in his second year. I guess his players starting to get acclimated with his system, and they're having a nice season.
Well, you can say that, and I agree that they're extremely talented and they're a very good football team. But don't diminish Sacred Heart now. Sacred Heart gave Fordham a run for their money in the playoffs last year, and they're a really good football team that returned just about everybody. So this is one of the teams I'm glad we're not playing on their schedule.
Delaware led by Trent Hurley. You saw him last year. Last year's game against the Blue Hens was one that many thought was in the bag as a W for the Tigers, but Delaware came back in the fourth quarter with an amazing comeback led by Hurley. He's thrown 8 interceptions as opposed to 6 touchdowns. But this is a team, Rob, that has done something that I don't know that you see too often. Against Colgate, their first play of the game, 52 yards. Then against Madison, first play, 75 yards for a touchdown. Come back against Sacred Heart, first play of the game, 79-yard touchdown. Have you ever seen a team have 3 plays of over 50 yards and 2 of them over 70 yards for touchdowns in play 1 in one season?
Only in Division III. Yeah, long time ago. No, their staff does a great job dissecting both self-scout stuff and what they do and how you would try to match up against something. And they really do a good job of taking their shot, and they've been pretty accurate. Clearly, you've pointed out coaching aspect number 1. We need to not give up a big play on the first play of the game defensively.
Hurley is a big kid. What do you like about him when you see him at quarterback?
He might be one of the toughest dudes I've ever seen play quarterback in this league. And that's a heady statement considering the guys we're talking about. That I have seen this dude take hit after hit after hit. A lot unneeded. And he's a ballsy kind of Jim McMahon, put his rear end out there, and he still steps in and makes the play. He's a tough, like I know as a football player, I would like to play on offense with that guy, just the type of person he is. And he can throw it, he can run it, and he runs their system very, very well.
They're a team that's pretty balanced. They run, throw about 50% both ways. Their running backs, they don't have any big names. Wes Hills is averaging 5.4 yards a carry and has scored 3 touchdowns. We mentioned John Randolph had a 79-yard touchdown run to start one of those games. When you look at their backfield, what do you see?
It's a two-headed beast. They got 2 solid running backs that carry the ball extremely well, consistently. Different styles, but still effective. And they have a good offensive line with some of the best offensive linemen in the league, and probably this is going to be an argument between the guy from James Madison and this kid, who's the best tight end in the league. So they're good up front with a good run game, and you put those 2 things together, and you're probably going to have a chance to win ball games.
And then Michael Johnson's among the nation's leaders in total yardage running and catching the football.
He's an impressive dude. I mean, in just anything. He's a great kick returner, too. He's one that we need to contain because he is a game breaker and has done this to multiple teams over the years.
Here's a stat that most people normally don't look at, but something that could be a difference in the game. They are 14th in the nation in net punting. So their punter does an extremely good job. Luckily, you've got a guy back there, Derek Joseph, who maybe could offset that. But special teams a lot of times will come up in a game like this.
It's the balance shifter. And it speaks well to the kicker, but it speaks even better to the coverage unit. That there are 10 guys down there that are covered to the ball and do it consistently well. They're fast and they're physical. They don't get out of position very often. So we're going to have to be on our game to make sure. I mean, we've been pretty good in every aspect of kick returns for the most part for the year. We're going to have to be on our game to continue that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you guys have done a great job on kick and punt and return coverage too. I mean, teams are not getting much out of you guys.
No, we've gotten better in teams in almost every aspect for the last couple of years, and it's really starting to show this year in both our return and our coverage units.
You look at Delaware, and again, their defense at times has given up a lot of yardage, especially on the ground. Obviously, they're going to think that you see that, but I guess the problem that you guys have right now is that even last week, Madison was giving up a lot of yardage running the football leading into your game, but when your longest pass play has only been 29 yards all year and your quarterback's averaging about 4.5 yards per attempt, teams are going to stack that box.
We've had some conversations at this point that despite the inadequacies of some of our skill sets, schematically we still need to challenge them. We need to push them. We need to threaten them. Even if even if I can't hit you square in the jaw, I got to at least take a swing, or you're going to keep on coming. So we're going to open up some of the stuff that we do this week and take advantage of what we think we can get from them. We're not going to change who we are, but we're going to take some more shots.
Tigers and the Blue Hens, I know you've been a part of this series for a long time. Towson hasn't played Delaware as often as they've played Madison or Morgan or any of those teams, but it's a rivalry that Towson especially likes. They're only 45 minutes away, and the Tigers have broken their hearts a couple of times. I know you were on the offensive end of the coaching staff when the Tigers broke their heart back in 1993. Some good memories between these two schools.
There's some great, I can say there's some great football games, just football games. If you think back for just the last couple of years themselves, how would you like to be in the stands and watch the game last year? Just as a fan of football. Now you go the year after that, and we go to overtime up there.
Mm-hmm.
The year after that is the only snow we got in the entire year in October, and I think we turned the ball over in the last drive, but that was a back and forth crazy ball game. So in the history of the game, there have been great games to watch. We haven't always ended up on the positive end of them, but when we do, it's certainly enjoyable.
How much of a recruiting base do both of you guys hit? In other words, when you look over on that Delaware sideline next week, how many of those kids were you looking at?
Oh, there's probably maybe on a 100-man roster, maybe 15 to 20 guys that we were head-to-head with, and they could probably say the same. That it's gotten better as the years have gone on, that we've won more battles now. With our successes, we've won more recruiting battles, but we haven't won them all, and pretty much because of the history of their school and their continued success, their continued commitment to their athletics program by their institution has allowed them to keep that success going for a longer period of time. But they probably win more of the recruiting, to be honest, they win more of the recruiting battles than they lose, but we still win enough.
Well, hopefully the big win will be on the field this week. We have to take one final break, but we will be back with more of the Tiger Football Report after this.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
Wise Markets Ice Cream Plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl and chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck against the Blue Hens, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, bro.
All right, don't forget that you can listen to the game live right here on TowsonTigers.com as the Tigers will hit the road for the second straight week when they take on the Blue Hens at Delaware Stadium. And if you can't make the trip, we will start right here at noon on TowsonTigers.com, live and for free, and on CBS Sports Radio 1300 at 12:15. Kickoff is set for 12:30. So don't forget to join myself and Ron Meehan on Saturday afternoon. That's going to do it for this episode of the Tiger Football Report. Once again, I'm Spiro Marikas. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again real soon.